hello, and welcome in to Bear With Us on the Bear Claw Media Podcast. I am Chris Bolin, and back is my partner in crime. I can finally get back to saying joined, as always, by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing pretty good. Don't sound too good because the flu and the allergies are coming around just fine. But I am alive. I am well. But yeah, happy to be back. Happy to be on Riverside. Doing our thing. But yeah, exciting Bears basketball. Langston Reynolds is becoming a Twitter sensation. I mean, even like these mock draft boards are having him on like potential NBA stuff, and it's like, I don't know if it's quite there yet, but he's getting the hype for it. And this basketball team is something special.
Yeah, I tweeted out when I saw that because that one had him at 97. And I tweeted it because I was like, that's sick. I was really looking for St. Thomas, who wasn't on the list at all. And then I got down and saw Langston Reynolds, and I was like, shit. I don't know how much I actually trust that guy's list just based on some of the other. I think he had Johnny Smith as like 10th overall. There were just a couple like weird things where I was like, I don't know about that. But we'll see. And nonetheless, super exciting just to get some UNC love in a mock draft. That almost never happens. That never happens. That literally actually never happens.
Right. Even when we had Spite and Davis, like Davis might have been, but Spite was even more amazing than him, and he didn't get any love like that. They got tryouts, which, hopefully, is Langston a junior or senior? I thought he was a junior.
Junior.
Okay, so hopefully we won't lose him yet, but when it's his time, hopefully he can get another, summer league tryout and it actually works out. Because
If we
we've
lose
had
him, it's gonna
two Bears,
go for it. Where we have a bit of a
because
lag
we've
here,
had two
so this
Bears
might.
recently who have, it's all good. We got two Bears that have gone on to Nuggets, workouts and whatnot, but even though we have 20 some guys in the Euros and all over the seas, it'd be nice to have somebody at home in the league besides, Dalton Connect. Like, he's one of ours, but like it'd be cool to have somebody like direct from us who like, reps us. Like, you got to rep Tennessee because of like, all the rules and stuff of the SEC, but you know, come on, give us a little love. You came from us first.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is probably going to be all for naught because also I was thinking of Janai Broom. I said Johnny Smith. I must be football brain. Um, but I think if he leaves this year, he's leaving to another college program. Maybe there's a chance if he comes back, he'll climb up those draft boards. But I fear he's probably not actually going to the NBA after. Not fear, but I'm much more confident in thinking that if he leaves, it's going to be to a Power 5 school instead of just going to the league. Also, I didn't realize I'm pretty sure, I was reading a story, shout out Ann Delaney, my Tribune colleague. She did a story on him and Isaiah Hawthorne, and I'm pretty sure Langston chose here over like, he had an NAU, but he also, I think, had a Missouri offer. He had a Power 5 offer that he could have took out of high school and ended up staying at UNC. So that gives me like actually a little bit of hope, that maybe even if there is something bigger and better out there, he's kind of here to stay. And like I talked about last week, like he from Denver, his mom's at like every game, a giant supporter. So I think the situation would have to be right to really get him, out of here. Fingers crossed, at least.
Yeah, fingers crossed he stays because he is a menace. I don't know, besides Dylan Darling, like I'd say definitely in the conversation for player of the year for Big Sky at least.
Yeah, I think Dylan Darling, Brandon Walker for Montana State is a weird one because he only plays like 23 minutes, but like his usage stats in those minutes are like top 4 or 5 in the country. So like when he's getting the ball, when he's on the floor, he's getting the ball. He's just 275 pounds, and I think it's hard to play more than 25 minutes or so, Um, and then but I think you're pretty right on that. There's Blaze Threat, but Weber State's kind of not been very good. Um, and then I'm blanking on the Montana guy's name. I want to call him like Money Williams, but I don't think that's quite right. Uh, he would have like a case, but I don't know. I think it's really lining up for Langston to get it, just based on the 3 player of the weeks already, and just the team success that UNC's having, that he's like a giant driver in.
Yeah, I was gonna say whenever he's in, he's just he's crashing boards, he's getting points. Like Langston does it all. And they make fun of him for his free throws not being as high a percentage as it could be because in the Idaho State game they were kind of ragging on him. He was 5 for 12, but if
He
that's
also
gonna be
went
the worst thing he
he went
does, like
11 for 11 against Idaho, so like
right.
there's a bit of a balance there. I think he was kind of out over his skis for a minute and had to come back to earth. But sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
If that's the one time that he has, a little bit of trouble, that's fine. I'll take some ones here or there because, he's usually pretty dangerous from the three when he actually takes that chance, and he always finds a way to the rim. So whether he's getting the bucket or getting the rebound, like he's in there.
Yeah, it's kind of, you're right. He isn't a confident 3-point shooter, but he's still shooting like 40 to 50% on the season. Just like because he takes 1 or 2 a game maybe, and every one he takes is like wide open. He knocked down both. After, I think I said out loud after during that Idaho State game, the announcer was like, "Yeah, Langston Reynolds, he doesn't take very many, but let's see if he goes off tonight." And I was like, "He's not taking another one." And then he did. He took a second and made me a liar. But he just shoots like really high percentage because, I mean, if you're wide open, why not? But and he's just so good at getting to the rim, even when he doesn't like beat his man. I feel like he can somehow just like kind of strong like Euro step through the contact, and he's just really good at finishing, which is it's crazy. Like he had a miss against Idaho State on Monday that didn't hit backboard or rim or anything, and I was like, that was like, what the hell was that? Like it was a tough shot, and he could have maybe a foul, but just like that was so jarring compared to like somehow he puts every layup at least off the backboard and rim.
No, definitely good. And I think one of the best things that has come out of the program lately has been that clip. I don't remember if it was a post game or if it was a midweek presser or whatever it was with Smiley, where he was just getting some, let's say, awkward questions, and he just kind of was like, you know what? We're tired of just being like, shooting for the middle, shooting for the bullseye. We're going on the attack. We're becoming the hunters. And I think in the last 2 games they've really shown that. Like Northern Arizona, not the best competition or whatnot, but 87 points. Like we really distance ourselves because there's been a lot of close games that haven't really needed to be that way. Like Portland State shouldn't have been that close. Like we were playing to the level of our competition for sure. Sac State again, one of those games that just kind of like the fundamentals just got away from us a little bit, got in our head a little bit. Idaho, I'm not going to address that one because that was a ref blunder.
You're gonna
Like if
upset
we're
me.
really going to call like 1 foot in the arc as a blocking foul, like that's like calling like a little baby like pinch of a jersey as a PI on the last throw to the touchdown. Like let's let the boys play. So that was BS in my opinion. But the last 2 games, even though there have been close moments where it's like, ooh, Idaho State, they're making a rally. It was like a 3 or 4 point game, when it was in the 60s, but then boom, just pulled away, kind of made their statement, solidified a good, 10 to 14 point margin of victory. So I think these guys have really flipped a switch, and I think it's a perfect time to flip the switch. I hope they just don't burn out before tournament time. Because, like, as much as we need a regular season title that isn't tainted by BJ Hill's bullshit, we also need to, like, carry it through into the tournament and, like, sweep both. Like, this team deserves to go to the NCAA. The only other team that I think really should go there besides us is Idaho State, and they're not even at the top of the conference.
See, I think Montana's very deserving if UNC doesn't get in. I think
They
Montana
weren't
played their.
deserving when we played them.
I mean, I think they played their worst game of the year, and we played our best game of the year, which is great when you play the other top team. But I would, I would almost be. I would think UNC. I don't think they'll be an actual underdog, but I think the UNC will be an underdog in my mind when Montana comes to the bank tomorrow. Just because but I'm with you 100% though on the peaking too early thing, because I actually had that thought after the Idaho State game. Like, it's great to see them actually play up to their potential these last two, even though they could play better than they did in those two. But get a solid lead, just hang on to it. That Idaho State game, the comeback, which this was the even trailing 5 at halftime. This is the first Idaho State game in the last 2 years that I'm pretty sure didn't come down to the absolute last wire. Like, they had a couple OT games. The tournament game was close. It was like a 2-pointer at their house last year. So it's just encouraging to see, but you're right, because it ultimately comes down, you have to win 3 games in the Big Sky tournament. Like, don't get me wrong, a regular season Big Sky title it's more impressive, quite frankly, because you have to do it over 18 instead of 3. But nobody, like, whether making the tournament's kind of the measuring stick, which is weird because our best season and most memorable season, we missed the tournament, and that's kind of why it became so memorable compared to the women's team who made the tournament that same year and were way better, but lost in the first round to Baylor. And I don't remember their postseason run at all. Like, I don't even remember that they made the tournament. I remember, but it's like not nearly as ingrained in my memory as that CIT run. So there's perks to both, but it ultimately does. It comes down to the tournament when we're talking about a national tournament berth. But the fact that they win the games even when they haven't played well, all but Idaho, which, like you said, there's a bunch of things we could go into. I'm starting to worry a little bit less, which scares me in that regard, because then like it just takes one. And so
Where's the big letdown?
Exactly. I'm probably going to be very nervous until, I don't know, that's in March, like March 10th. Let's say that's probably a safe date that the Big Sky tournament will be over by.
Oh no, it's March 8th through the 12th.
Oh, so March 12th. Well, shit, if I'm stopped stressing by March 10th, something went wrong.
But yeah, I think this might actually be a good time to peak. It's hard to say that with 8 games left and then the conference tournament. But Montana State, those were theoretically the scariest teams coming into the season. And then we have Sac State, Portland State. Both struggle with those. I know those are bottom dwellers, but we played shitty, and those are on the road. So I feel like need a peak during during Montana week, and then like keep that like kind of plateau, keep that same like really high octane jet fuel through Sac and Portland State, and then like you can start downshifting as you're like coming through your last 2 home games. Like Eastern Washington should go well. Senior night with Idaho. I mean, the script writers couldn't do it better. If we need redemption on senior night against Idaho with a game that was a 1-point decision and a 1-point decision we didn't like, that's a perfect time to write it. And then you kind of just, coast into the tournament with NAU and Weber. Just, obviously we don't want to coast so much that we have losses, but at the same time, I feel like, hit red hot on Montana week, kind of keep that same or a little bit less energy Sac and Portland State week, and then the rest of it, like, just be on your P's and Q's and like just make sure that you get the W. But I think these next 4 games are going to be the most important for finishing the conference out well.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about I was thinking peaking at the right time being tournament time, Big Sky and NCAA, but it makes sense there because there's still so much time left. You do have time for like a little 3 or 4 game peak here, then maybe even a dip in like energy and ramp it back up by tournament time. But I think you nailed this weekend is, I don't want to say UNC could clinch the Big Sky this weekend, but if they sweep Montana and Montana State, that puts 2 games between them and Montana. let me see, where can I find just straight up standings? And then after that, they're not in a lot of trouble. Like this 4-loss Portland State team who's good, and I think that game in Portland will be a little bit iffy just because they're an intense team. And then that Weber State game at the end, that feels to me like a stupid game that they're going to lose, that UNC will lose. But at that point, everything kind of might be set for them, and they may be locked into the 1 seed in the Big Sky tournament. And not that that makes it any better to drop a game or two, but at that point, things are already settled. You're just making sure nobody gets hurt. But
Right. Like we don't want to see any losses as fans, but at that point, like if you kind of coast off and you have like a little bit of a rest period, we get it.
yeah, 100%. And I still fear that there's like two losses. I'll drop it down because I kind of expected one of the NAU Idaho State game to be at least a little bit hairy. So when I said like kind of 4 losses in conference last week, I'll knock one of those off and say probably 3. But you finish 15-3 in the Big Sky. That's going to win it almost every year. Even if 2 losses are to Montana, I think chances are Montana drops at least probably 2 more games because it's the same thing. Like they're also 19 to 23-year-olds that when you have to do it every night, it gets a lot tougher than doing it once in a while.
Right. Yeah, the only thing that worries me is like we kind of peaked when we played last, the Idaho through Montana stretch, the Idaho State through Montana stretch. We kind of like peaked there as well as we like won that overtime game. We beat Montana State, kind of, dethroned their confidence, even though their confidence wasn't all that great after non-con. And then Montana just got an absolute shellacking. But then we kind of struggled. We had close games against Portland and Sac like we shouldn't have. Idaho went how it went, and we just kept it way too close with Iwu. So I don't know. I feel like this is just kind of like don't repeat history. Like, don't be so in your head that you're not playing the game, not doing the same things that you've been doing the whole year. But like this kind of feels like a little bit of a trap. So I see where you're concerned. I like that you dropped it from 4 games to 2 losses.
It's 4 total to 3 total. I dropped it from, I said that weird, but 3 remaining to 2 remaining. Like 2 losses left. So 3 total, if that tracks at all.
I think I'd say 2 left. I'd say there's going to be 2 left, but none of them happen at home.
Oh,
I'm hoping
okay.
on that because I feel like Montana State in our building, like with the momentum they have right now, I feel like that should go our way, even if it's an incredibly sweaty game in both of those. And then maybe the Sac State Portland trip, maybe we drop one there that's stupid, even though they're kind of bottom dwellers. But the only game that worries me really on the schedule is Idaho. Is that they're going to be too in their head, be like, this is our one conference loss. Like, we're just going to, just not play like the Bears. We're going to try to play like imposters, trying to be anything but us and just absolutely screw up the chemistry.
That's funny. That's funny you say that because I'm not worried about Idaho in the absolute slightest. Like I think they'll if I had a guess, I would put the over under at like 15 or the spread. I think UNC wins by around 15 in that game because I don't think they fear Idaho. I think they're like that was fucking stupid. Like how did we lose that game? I like personally I'm way more nervous about basically every other game besides maybe Sac State. I really like that. That's funny that you said that because I'm kind of in the exact opposite boat. But that being said, I've been off in kind of my predictions all year. I really did not think that Montana road game was going to go very well. I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a ton of faith that they would sweep NAU and NAU and Idaho State. That Idaho State one really, because they've just been a thorn in our sides for the last handful of years. We've just been better than them, but we just can't really put them away. in a way that this team seemingly did on Monday night, which was really encouraging to see.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty good overall, and I know I keep calling Portland State a bottom dweller, but it's hard when everybody's like 5-5 behind us in
I
conference. It's
know.
like, oh, like the second best is Montana, and we whooped them by, 80 something to 57. Like, it just like it's hard to consider. It's been close games, but it's not close in the standings. So when you were like talking about clinching, I was like, really? And I was like, oh yeah, wow. Like we keep Montana off our heels, which again, that could have been their worst game, but man, their worst game was pretty bad. It just looked like we were just playing with them, like they were, like it was a fish out of water, and a cat was just right there, like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna play with that. Um, Montana State still scares me a little bit, even though they've definitely been on a slump. But I don't know, like the conference is really weird this year. It's not shaping up the way that I would have thought at all. Like Montana being 15-8, it just seems so weird compared to the game that we saw from them.
No, that's very fair. I I think part of that Montana game too is they just didn't make any threes. Not looking at the numbers, I just remember that being like a big thing that the announcer wouldn't shut up. Which kudos, I've been that announcer that won't shut up about us not making threes, so I get it. Um, but yeah, if UNC wins tomorrow, because this is Wednesday, they play Montana in the bank tomorrow. That would move UNC to 10-1, Montana 8-3. I don't know, because they'll have split. I don't know the exact word on like tiebreakers, but it has to do with common opponents. So kind of hoping Idaho State probably loses, and then maybe just to polish things off, hope maybe Idaho can beat a Montana in the back half of the conference schedule. But it's kind of weird because you can't officially clinch anything, but you put two full games between you and Montana with what would that be, 7 left. That's tough, especially like I keep saying, that 19 to 23 year olds who like have varying levels of resolve.
Right, and it's so weird. Like Portland State has had a couple common opponents with us, and they're it just I don't know. They should be a better team than what I give them credit for. But we don't like Portland State here. We're Pete's Coffee. We're not Starbucks. But even so, the two losses to Montana and Montana State are pretty interesting. I think that bodes well for us with them going into a slump. But at the beginning of the year, they only lost to Washington State by 8. They did lose to Denver. They did lose to St. Thomas by almost 30 points. So common opponent wise, kind of interesting. The San Diego win is a decent win for sure, but it's like this team started hot, and like I think they might be slumping. So I think that would I think a good team slumping is probably the thing that we need to look out most for as a trap game. Like Weber, like I could see that being a trap game. I could also see that being like a rest game, but I think Portland's kind of the trap door left on our schedule, and Montana State are kind of the last like big boss fights before we slay Idaho into a bunch of au gratin potatoes.
That's actually a good point. This is like, I don't want to say UNC's like better than the rest of the Big Sky. I think record would kind of show that. But if you're just looking at like any single one game, UNC will probably have a talent advantage, but it's not so great that they can afford to really mess around. I think Montana and Montana State are probably the two games where that advantage is like the least, or like talent, not just talent, because I don't want to say just players, but like talent also in the way that it all kind of works together as a team. But yeah, I think Montana and Montana State are the two big ones, kind of like right in front of you. Like, hey, this weekend, not make or break the season, but could kind of make the season, at least regular conference season wise. And then 100% a Sac State game where in theory you go in and should just wipe the floor with them, even though that wasn't the case at home. Um, but they could be riding incredibly high heading into that Portland State game, and that is a good Like that's a good suss out as a trap game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like our trap door to watch out for in Montana. Honestly, looking through their schedule, I think what they've done in the season is more impressive than most people in the conference.
Oh, yeah.
They don't really have like a signature win. I mean, South Dakota State's a pretty good one. They beat them
I
by
mean,
4.
that is
Um,
our when you say that South Dakota State's also our signature win. So
I
so
know it's
careful
like,
careful how you tread.
but that's also around the same time that we played them, so we probably softened them up for them.
I think you did.
Um, St. Thomas they lost by 7. Um, Denver they beat them by 10. So, but they played very poorly in their money games. They lost by 25 points plus. Um, Northern Iowa. That's theoretically, I don't know how
I
they're
don't
doing this season, but that's usually like a tournament type team. They lost by
I
at
don't think
least 25 there.
that shouldn't be a money game though. Like,
No, 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 not Northern
but
Iowa being money.
for sure.
But I mean, looking at like weird losses, like Northern Iowa was a weird loss. We were a weird loss, especially since they were trending pretty hot. And another tournament type team, San Francisco, they usually end up in some sort of tournament, lost by 4 to them. So strong team, strong resume. I just don't think, I don't know, could be wrong, but I don't think that the Bears had a lot of competition left besides the Montanas.
I can't really argue with you there. Like, who knows what's going to kind of come up as the season, plays out because it is still 8 games left. So there's a lot of like kind of I don't know what to say. There's a lot of variance left to be had. Also, you want to hear something fucking crazy, Ben?
Mm.
Ken Palm has UNC as a one sec. I believe it's a top 100 place to play at this season. They have the Bank of Colorado is like it's I'm sure it's also like record is very heavily weighed into that, but that's crazy. I just saw Montana has a B environment game coming up, and it's UNC at the 2,800 seat Bank of Colorado arena that we might get half full. If actually Montana coming to town, I don't think this is any specific like you may be on UNC's website. I don't think this is this sorority and fraternity. Is this Greek night? Because that would
This
actually be a good Greek night.
is faculty and staff slash dorm days.
Okay, don't
So it's like campus night, basically.
not sure what that means, but I hope that means that the student section will be full. Um,
Yeah, in terms of like holiday games, we're getting all of our holiday games in the last 4, at least all of the ones that matter besides First Responders Night, which ladies had super cool pinked out jerseys.
I saw those.
Um,
Those are sick. Or those were sick.
so I think besides Kids Days and Military Day, like there were some hokey other ones, but this is our stretch of like get everybody to the bank, which everybody needs to be getting to the bank unless you have a kiddo, then ESPN Plus. But still, watch the damn Bears. But we got
Ben
dorm
realized
days,
he was
and
about to drag himself into that group.
I was like really back in, like parents like get on the ESPN Plus though, get that viewership up.
No,
But it's faculty and dorm days. Montana State on Saturday is alumni night. So alumni, I think you can get in for $5 or less, or it's like you get in, but it's like it's a $5 ticket, and then there's like a concession thing or something.
the games are
You were
so
right,
cheap to go to too. Like
right.
even if you pay full price, I've never actually bought a ticket to a UNC game, so I shouldn't be talking. But they're $15 to $20 at like at tops for general admission. And you could it's never full to the point where even if they do sell like the you're only supposed to sit in these 4 corner thing, nobody's gonna
Yeah,
like
you
there's
sit where you want,
yeah
just as long as you're not taking the sideline seats that are like,
yeah the
a
arm and
little
a leg.
pricey. That's the kind of the booster reserved. When Eastern comes to town, that is Greek night. That is sponsored by Greeley Lifestyle Magazine, so that'll be fun. And
That
senior night
feels
is
like
senior
that
night.
was a game that they were like Eastern Washington won the conference last 2 years. Let's have Greek night on that night when they come into town, and then the coach leaves and takes all of the players with him to Washington State, and
That's right. Get
it
all the
matters
frats and
so
frats
much
to
less
see
now.
a big blowout win.
As long as they can figure again, yeah, as long as UNC can make a shot or two when Eastern goes into those zones, they'll be
Right.
golden. So I
Well,
do
I know
you
Chris has to run and do big boy job things. Before
this
you
is
go,
what I get for giving you shit about having your honeydew list and being at work on that last podcast. So
you're all good. Going forward, real quick, player to watch that favorite player or player to watch going forward.
ooh, like I ooh, that's interesting. I think Jaron really is become I don't know if it's favorite player because the obvious answers are Langston and Isaiah, like those because they're just the two like top guys. So I don't want to necessarily say one of them, but Brock Wisney I love just because of like the type of player he is. But I think like Jaron really is the engine, and he's like the like I think he's behind the scene, not behind. He's pulling the strings. It feels like for everything that makes this offense run, and I think that's incredibly valuable for UNC. So I think he's like sneaky big player to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna say mine real quick because I know we got to get you out of here. Quinn Denker getting a lot of minutes for not being technically listed as a starter, so I think he's going to continue to be a big force for us. And I always like to see Marcel just draining threes. So if we need a little relief time, a little three time to come in, I'd like to see Marcel Money come in.
Dude, Marcel, he's such a fun player. Like he's the perfect like you watch and you're like that's my guy. Like he's not the oh somebody's honking here at the library. I don't know if the camera picked that up. But he's that guy that's like he's like a yeah. In 10 years, people will be like, "Remember Marcel McCreary?" Like he's not like going to be an all conference. He just brings the juice that you just love as a fan.
Right. But yeah, we better get Chris to his actual job that actually pays his bills. But this has been a lot of fun, and everybody, make sure you tune into Bears basketball because that is even more fun.
Well, hey, let's not say even more fun, but no, 100%. This team deserves all the praise, all the support is probably the word. Like it's such a great product. Like go catch a game in person. You won't regret it. Like no matter how it kind of plays out, there's going to be things to really get excited about. Huh. All right. Did you Ben? Did you wanna hang around and do a little wrestling, or do you want to hop off and we can do that some other time?
Yeah, I think I'll do a Bear news or a Bear update around campus if I have the free time right now. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up with Bears basketball. Everybody, stay tuned to the socials. This is signing day, so check out the UNC stuff. We'll have an episode on that once we can get very busy Coach V on the show, and we'll break down kind of what he knows about all the new high school kids coming into the program.
All right, awesome. As always, if you like what we're doing, please comment, like, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. If you don't, leave Ben a nicely worded email. I'll go gentle on you since you're here today. Have a good
And
one.
give me the Twitter
Oh.
inbox. I can get to it much faster.
Touche. I don't know why I said email. That was weird. Have a good one.